basically, this stream is just to give everyone some updates on where we're at with stuff and sort of just a general status update and give you guys a little bit of extra input on a few of the things we've been working on and things that are coming up because we've been mostly pretty quiet here lately for the past couple of weeks. That's largely been because we've actually been doing a whole bunch of stuff trying to prep. So we will start out with a little preview of our UI. This is the first draft, sort of. We've done some revisions of
Yeah,
the
this is definitely at least the third
yeah.
drafted official third one.
Yeah, so this is all as per the norm, guys. Again, you can see this on Twitch for those of you that are listening in on Discord. Um, we're doing the Discord thing just so you guys can chime in and ask questions if you want. That way, oh, apparently it's going to cycle through a couple different images. Um, hold on one second. But yeah, we want you to be able to ask questions if you want to, and then if you want to see the visual stuff, you'll just pop onto Twitch and watch us on there. So basically, this is the generic UI for the world map. There's still a couple of little things we're going to tweak. Need to fix kind of the direction of these arrows a little bit, but basically, these arrows are meant to be representative of the ability to collapse these rows. So we want to be able to collapse as much of this stuff as possible, just so you can clean up your UI when you're on the map, or really in any screen you want. So same thing with your resources, we'll let you collapse that stuff. Um, so you've got, your marches out here to the right side. We've got a couple of quick little buttons here over on the left for building and research and to actually produce units. So you can access your stuff from anywhere, like any screen you're on, you can actually access your units and not have to go back to your base to build units or do your research. You've got your XP bar, level, and then your strength down here, or might, or whatever. We haven't denoted it with like an official name. Other than that, that's kind of the gist of it. Then there is this one that actually, this is not an image of our game, to be very clear. This background image was just one that Coolstroke pulled from another game just to put something there to give an idea of what it would look like over the game. So again, we've commented before also, just while this is in the image, those red lines where you can see where your enemy's going, you will not get that in our game. If you want to know where the enemy's going, you're just going to have to figure it out. There isn't going to be a bunch of stuff to give away their strategy or their movements. Let's see. I see Patrick is here. At least one of our Patricks, because apparently we have a few. So that, like I said, that's the general look of the UI. Feel free, throw in comments and whatever. We're always open to input on this stuff, but the team that we had hired, I know we hadn't really given much of an update on that. So we had hired the team to work on this project with us after going through a really large group of people, and basically everything that they gave us was pretty bad. It got to the point where we were essentially having to do all of the work for them to give us something that still wasn't on par with what we were wanting. So we decided to just fire them and do it ourselves. We're still going to look for a team to help us with the project completion. And on that note, we're actually planning to launch the Kickstarter for the game itself. By the intention is the beginning of March, end of this month. It'll probably be sometime the beginning of March, like the first week or second week of March. So right now, what we're doing is prepping a lot of stuff for that. So you guys are going to see probably a fair bit more visuals being shared related to things for Kickstarter. We have several other fun things planned for the community right now that are actually in the process. A couple of unique things that if people miss it, they're just going to miss it. Sorry, I'm just looking at chat real quick. I don't know how much of that to give away because it is going to be sort of a limited thing, and I know not a lot of people right now are watching the stream or will end up going back and watching it. So like most things we do, when you guys pop on to watch the stream, we usually show people watching the stream a little bit more than what you're going to see on the server publicly, unless you're a patron. One of the things we're actually looking at doing a reveal on, and I have not yet, is this little guy. So this is actually a pet in the game. This was designed by, well, with Zobart. He was our first top tier patron, so we started with him first. But this is actually his exclusive pet that nobody else can get in the game. And then there's also this version, which they're fairly similar, but we did want them to be distinctly different enough that it was obvious, his is definitely unique. But this second one here on the left will be obtainable by everybody. It's more of a matter of how you're going to obtain it, which we will not get into right now. We do already have that planned. It will not necessarily be easy, but we just wanted to show everybody that's watching the stream, and we will actually be posting this one publicly soon. An example of one of the pets that's in the game. The pets do not serve any real purpose other than aesthetic. So don't be like, oh no, Zobart's going to have some advantage. He will not. It's strictly a visual thing. And some people are going to like that obviously a lot more than others, but that's kind of the point, right? Other than that, we've got a couple of others being drawn. I believe everybody.
I won't show this in the YouTube video, but we could maybe show the buildings.
Yeah, well.
Hey guys, if you want to go check out the buildings, I did edit it out of the stream on YouTube. So head over to our Twitch and follow us at twitch.tv/F2P Revolution and check out our most recent video if you guys want to check out our faction buildings. Make sure to give us a follow. Alright, back to our stream.
So, as far as updates, because I know that's kind of a big thing, we've been making a lot of progress on the UI. That's been a pretty big part of it. We're going to start sharing some stuff hopefully pretty soon with us actually utilizing the UI and showing some little clips of at least some bits of gameplay and start churning out a couple more videos. Predominantly right now our focus is going to be on getting stuff together for Kickstarter, just because we have basically a month to do that and have everything lined up and really fleshed out, because that's going to make a huge difference in the project if it gets funded, and that makes it kind of a critical path right now. So that's our big push. The whole alpha thing definitely got pushed back, as we've talked about before, and there's unfortunately nothing for that at the moment. But basically what we're going to do is work out a bunch of stuff for the Kickstarter, and then with that funding we'll actually be able to work with a studio, assuming we get the funding, of course, and then we can actually push out a lot more stuff a lot faster, because they'll be getting paid to work on it full time while we can only work on it part time because, jobs and all that. So on that note, we are brainstorming a bit as far as things to give people that donate to our Kickstarter. We have a bunch of stuff in mind, but if you guys have anything that you can think of that you think would be kind of cool, whether it be physical or digital, let us know. Feel free to throw out your suggestions. I'm also reorganizing the Discord server quite a bit to hopefully make it easier for everybody to follow, and it should have a little bit more like I've added this feedback section, so there's suggestions and polls now that are public. We should have a little bit more clarity with the art. I think I might break that down a little bit for everyone, so it's easier to find like specifically building art or hero art or whatever. We'll see. I'm certainly open to people's input on that stuff as always, but we're just trying to clean things up a little bit to make it a little easier for everybody to follow in there. Does anybody have any questions so far about anything, as far as the state of anything or whatever? Sush is saying hi to all of the streaming people. Oh, we are actually planning a 4th unit type other than Siege too that we're actually working on. I'm hoping to get. We're gonna do some revising some stats. I will say a random little feature that we're discussing too with the research tree, and again, feel free to chime in. there's a couple of games out there that let you progress in some sort of research or stat or skill or whatever by doing a thing. We're actually discussing implementing that into our game. So the people that are in the safe zone, as we've termed it, will obviously not be doing PvP because that's what the safe zone's for. The people out in the field will be doing a lot of PvP. So like Before Death, who I believe is still sitting in the stream watching or listening, I know him well enough to know that he's going to want to be in the field pretty much the whole time. The people like that are going to then, by doing all that extra combat, actually gain experience, so to speak, towards different research, respectively, depending on what it is they're using or fighting or whatever. And we're working through those details, but that's the intention, is to allow you to gain some experience so that your time to upgrade that and your cost for that particular research is shorter and cheaper. So basically that means you, as somebody in the field, will be more advanced in a military stance than the guy that's sitting in the safe zone. We're discussing a couple different things, but I feel like that makes more sense. So you can't just have a guy sit under a shield 24/7 for like a couple months and then jump into the field and just start tearing everybody up because he's just been protected growing. We're working through a couple of different little things like that, kind of discussing how we want to do it, but I think that's something most people would like. The people that are in the shield, of course, will be doing more gathering and more generating resources and stuff like that. So they would get a boost towards those sorts of things. And they'll still be able to do PvE, so they will still have some combat, but they're very unlikely to do nearly as much combat as the people out in the field. Dun dun dun. Anyhow, let's see.
Another opinion kind of wanted some weight on was the villager basically unit that you would use for gathering or building or whatever.
Yeah.
Especially if you can't have action buildings out on the field.
Yeah, so
If,
most of you guys obviously are at least somewhat familiar with the mobile RTSs, and typically they have some sort of a builder limit. There's a few exceptions to that. I know a lot of our people that are in our server are from Top War, and in Top War there isn't anything like that. They just let you build as fast as you can, and as far as I can recall, your buildings are just instantly built, and then you merge them and whatever. Sorry, I'm just trying to poke around at the same time to see if I can find something else to show you guys real fast. As far as that goes, we are discussing possibly having a like a builder unit, like a worker of some kind, that you would actually utilize for things like gathering. This is again more like a traditional RTS. It's just a conversation piece at this point because I just was thinking about it the other day. I was like, could we work it in? Would it add any value to the game, or would it be just completely pointless? That's something that we'll definitely ask for some input on, and you guys will start seeing some public polls going up here pretty soon, possibly tonight, to kind of ask some of those questions. But basically, that whole concept just boils down to, like I said, very much like a traditional RTS. You would basically create workers from your main building, and then you would send them to the resource in your base. And if you think of a traditional RTS, if you're familiar with them, like StarCraft is the one I was talking to Coolstro about, just because I played it like crazy for the longest time. You know, if you set your base in the starting position where it starts, on most of the maps it was 2 gatherers per mineral node, and then I think it was 3 per gas node. That was pretty typical. But if you were further away, you would send more to fill that gap. You just never wanted to build up at the point that you were gathering. So that would implement that sort of logic and strategy that a player would have to start using, because it would count against their unit cap as well, which we'll be looking at that and kind of refining that unit cap anyways, to try to keep numbers a little bit more reasonable on things, because we don't want those really absurd numbers that are not real, like you see in games like Top War, where they're like, I'm up to 1 mm or whatever. Like, they don't even know what the number is anymore. But anyhow, we have the stream questions thread that nobody's really poked around in for a little while. I've cleared out most of the stuff that was in there, with the exception of a couple of things that Raya had asked a while ago. But if you guys do have questions, always feel free to throw them in there. Anything for the stream. If you're just like, I'm not going to remember this, just pop it in there and we'll take a look. Like I said, this is not going to be a very long stream. We don't have a ton to really throw out there and discuss necessarily. The biggest thing, I guess, since there's only a few people watching this at the moment, I will say we have a skin planned that is going to be a limited time skin and very limited time. And the only people that are going to actually get it are the ones that are actually paying attention to Discord. So we're going to work through a couple of details related to that, but it will be a free skin for those people. And I don't know if we're going to make it accessible later by purchase, or it will just be limited time right now only. That's, again, a discussion we're going to have. We're also currently working on another skin that is going to be more related to something else that we'll get into later. So, biggest thing is Kickstarter. That is the biggest focus. If you want to follow it, as soon as our Kickstarter goes live, just the page itself, not the Kickstarter, like I was saying, that'll be beginning of March. As soon as the Kickstarter goes live, we'll post it around so everybody can start tracking it and following it. Again, if you have any thoughts on some rewards that you would like for those tiers that you think would add some value, let us know. And there's actually, let me pull something else up here real quick. I'll show you guys another visual that we were just working on for Kickstarter. Probably helps if I go to the right place, right? Let me just move this stuff around real quick. I've got like 50 windows open right now. So this was made by Aerosot for our Kickstarter. That is actually going to be the rollover button. And I realize this isn't necessarily a big deal to probably most people, but just to give you kind of an idea of some of the stuff that we're working on for the Kickstarter, while it's fairly simple. So this is what it'll look like, and then when you roll over it, it'll change to that. So if you have any particular art skills, or you're good with Photoshop or whatever, and you want to potentially help out, feel free to let us know. That is a first draft of that. We have not discussed it and gone over it and tweaked it at all yet, but we're definitely always open to getting more people involved if they're interested and willing to help. Just everything that we do right now is, of course, non-paid, with very, very few exceptions. So if you want to help, that'd be great. If not, it's totally cool. Anything we use, the other sort of stipulation I try to throw out there for people, and I even told Aerosot, who I've known forever, everything we use is going to be kind of on a very professional level. So that's the other thing. If somebody wants to help, we're happy to have the help, and we don't want to seem rude. But if it's not to that certain quality level, we're probably not going to use it. So no offense to anyone. Some people just can't do certain styles regardless of their skill level. And that's the same thing with the art style we were going with, as a stylized art style, which some people just can't do. They can do other art phenomenally well, just not that. And it is what it is, so no big deal. I will say one giveaway we do have in the works. Again, since there's so few people in here, typically for our streams, we try to give you guys a little extra. There's a company that I ran into that makes dice. Kind of like these. These are straight from their website. So they make some pretty cool looking dice. And that is one of the things we actually have planned. Venus likes to point out that this is not a tabletop game or Dungeons and Dragons or whatever, and I've tried to explain to her, doesn't matter. Dice are cool. People like dice. Like, I don't play those games, but I like dice. They're just cool looking, and I can guarantee her there's some people that are going to like these. So we have a design that we're going to work on, possibly reaching out to them for a quote today, and might actually have a prototype version to show everybody here, and it will be on the Kickstarter, almost guaranteed, unless something goes crazy wrong. So that's just something I thought I'd pop through for everybody, give you guys kind of an idea. A couple of other things we've talked about, a map, an actual physical map of the world, which I don't know that anyone has seen the rough sketch yet of what we have for the world map. But yeah, that's one of the things we've talked about. We've also discussed there's going to be the leaders for each faction and the King of Mythos himself. We are not going to have them drawn yet. We're going to wait for Kickstarter. Those are going to become different tiered levels in Kickstarter where you can spend X amount and you actually get to help design that character in your own likeness or however you want, obviously within reason, because we'll be involved in making sure that stays within the scope of our game and safe for work and all that fun stuff. But other than that, yeah, that's just a couple of ideas that we've been discussing for it. Coolstro, is there anything that you can think of other than, I will say we've got 2 videos that we've been waiting on for a little while that we are actually really close to putting out for YouTube that are related to some hero reveals. Everyone's already seen the heroes if they've been keeping up with our stuff. So you guys have at least seen their art, but you don't actually really know anything about these 2 characters. But both of theirs are coming here pretty soon. We've actually got some voice recording I'm waiting on from John Smith, who's sitting at the moment in our center stage here on Discord. He'll be doing a little bit of voice recording for us. Let's see. Sorry, I'm just checking through the chat there real quick. Oh, geez, totally lost my train of thought. Patreon, those of you that have not looked at it, go check it out. There are free posts on there. I've slacked here a little bit lately on posting stuff on there as far as the newer stuff that we've been showing to our patrons. So I'm going to try to catch up on some of that here throughout this weekend and into next week. But there's also quite a bit of new stuff we need to post on there. Same thing with our website. We're going to work on doing some updates there. Again, the focus is all like 1,000% on getting our Kickstarter really up and running right now. But some of that's going to go hand in hand with some Patreon stuff as well, updating some of those benefits like we've talked about for a while. And we are starting to go through our patron list. And like we discussed, Zobart, we had designed that pet with us. So we're starting to go through that and work on designing the stuff that's offered to those different patron tiers with our patrons. We just need them to be responsive, like not for death, but a different Patrick that is one of our patrons. He's struggling to come up with ideas for what he wants to design for his item, so to speak. Anyhow, that is kind of it at the moment. Not a super exciting stream, just a couple of updates. Things are moving despite the silence, and the server's been a little bit quieter, mostly because we've been talking a lot every day, every night, behind closed doors between our team and working through the UI stuff and all that. And Coolstro is going to show us some amazing UI screens in the future, I'm sure of it.
Yeah, so yeah, what you saw there was basically your world map view. And if you want to pull that up, I'll just quickly touch on it before I head off. I was thinking after this screen, would do Civview, which would be similar. Then I would work on potentially the different building views and such. So on the right side, the idea is, say you have 5 marches, so that's why there's 5 icons there, that you would be able to jump to each march. The thoughts on the mini map would be that if you had allies or enemies within said distance, you could see them on your radar, like coming in and out of distance, potentially, especially if you can see through the fog. And the crowns is going to be our premium currency, which will be used in the shop to buy skins and stuff. The gold is going to be used for trading and such. And so the gold is kind of going to be like that, the money used for the in-game economy, and you won't be able to buy the gold with, like, you won't be able to like pay to win in any way. So it's not like you can just buy gold in the store. Then you've got then you've got your main resources for your trading, training units and building buildings. Yeah, on the left we've kind of got like the icon there with the sword. It's supposed to be like your power, your might, your fame, whatever we decide to call that, prestige, whatever. and your level. And anything you see is subject to change. This is like the third kind of major addition on this one, but
Yeah, so
kind of sets the layouts for the next ones. And then on the left side, so you've got quick execution to build. If you have all the builders and research and training units between your different barracks and archery range and such. The bottom left icons, so you can swap from world view to city view, and there'll be a chat box beside that, so you can chat between your like your guild, your faction, or whatever. And then we've got like our quests and our guild and our inventory and our mailbox as well on the bottom right. So if you think I'm kind of missing something, or there's something that you generally like on a UI or whatever, throw your suggestions down because none of this is final yet. And I'm gonna probably be moving on to the next UIs. So I'll probably show that on our next stream, whether that be next Saturday or the following Saturday.
yeah, so he kind of broke up a little bit in there. So if anybody needs clarity on that, just let us know. Just to touch back and kind of reiterate too, the gold, like he was saying, that's going to be your essentially player-driven economy. That's going to be related to your trade on the market and stuff like that, or buying certain things from possibly AI, which is again some of the mechanics we've talked about. Until we implement some of it, we'll probably just pull back on talking about we're going to do this, we're going to do that, because that kind of gets a little old, and we know that. We have a lot of plans. It doesn't matter until we actually have them implemented, and we get that. So, I'm trying to think. Oh, one of the other things we did discuss, and I would like some input on this, is stamina or energy. We've gone back and forth on this a couple of times. Previously, we've said one thing. After some discussion, we're kind of leaning towards doing it a little differently. Basically, you'll notice on that screen, there is no stamina or energy. The reason for that is because we've been talking about actually removing that, meaning as a player, you can play to your heart's content as much or as long as you want. There is no restriction. The only restriction is your ability to have units or whatever the case may be. Obviously, you're still going to have build times and stuff like that, but when it comes to actually doing combat, we're still, again, not decided for sure. We're still a little back and forth on it, but we kind of lean towards just getting rid of that system altogether. For one, it's less work for us to have to design a system that is kind of meant to make you spend money. Part of it does help in the sense of you don't have to compete with that person that can just stay on all day and play constantly. Um, but at the same time, if you can do as much as you want without any cap on that energy, and you don't have to worry about like, oh, I went to work for 8 hours and my energy just sat full, so I just wasted all of that. Instead, you can just go home and crank it out as hard as you can, and you can actually kind of close that gap a little if you're playing smarter, maybe. Um, so we're gonna try to work out as much as we can in that regard. So like there's maybe better benefits obviously if you win an attack versus lose an attack, the strength of your enemies, all those sorts of things. But yeah, definitely give us your opinion on that, guys. If you think that the energy system is necessary, if you feel like that is definitely something we should have, let us know. If you very much like the idea of it not existing, so you can just play as much as you want, cool, let us know. I'll probably put that in a poll as well. Like I said, I will start putting up quite a few polls just because we really do want some feedback, and I realize things may not look like they're progressing as fast as some people would like. Um, for one, it's a big project. It really is. It is a longer process than most people give it credit for. We've been pushing and pushing and pushing, and we really should have already had the alpha out based on what we had. But due to some unfortunate circumstances, we had to pivot a little bit, and we haven't lost anything we spent a dime on. We have 100% of that. We're just having to sort of adjust how we're doing a few things, and that's causing us to take a little bit longer. But when we kick off this Kickstarter, if we do everything properly and we have a good first couple of days, it should be just huge, guys. And we'll definitely need anybody that's interested in helping support. We definitely need that like on the front end because it helps a ton if you get that good start within the first 24 to 48 hours. it gives you a huge push. But if you can spread the word, as soon as we get that page to go live, we're going to try to post it today, and it takes them a couple days to review it. As soon as it goes live, we're going to post that link, and we're going to keep that link in front of everybody's face. You guys will see a lot more announcements about it as we get closer, and we definitely need help spreading the word on that, like, heavily. Because that, I'm telling you, you guys want to play this game, we want to play this game, you want to see this thing come out, that is going to just have a huge impact on our timeline and our capability to have a really good quality product in a reasonable amount of time. So we're going to get some prices here very soon from a couple of those teams we've been looking at that are definitely for sure can do it. And then that'll impact what we set our goal up to. So anyhow, if anybody have any questions before we end this thing, because we're definitely going to, I think, cut this one a little bit short. We will be around. We're still around pretty much always, so hit us up, guys, if you need anything. We're just doing a lot of voice chats with each other directly as we work through all this stuff. I will check Discord. Anybody asking anything as of yet on Twitch, or are we good?
Nothing on Twitch.
Okay. So then they're basically in and injured. Oh. The other thing, I see somebody, it looks like it's Tom talking about injured units. Is that what I'm reading? Yeah. So there are no injured units. Your units either die or they don't. Again, that's more like your traditional RTS, which at some point I'd like to pop on with some people from the community and play one. If anybody wants to play like StarCraft 2, which is completely free to download and play, we could certainly try to set that up one of these days. And possibly this weekend. Just, we'll see. We're really busy trying to get stuff lined up right now. But anyhow, I guess there are no questions. If you have anything, let us know. We'll be on Discord. But thanks for watching and hanging out, and we'll talk later. Try to get a little bit more regular with these streams again. All right, guys. Take it easy.
Peace out.